Hello everyone and welcome back into another video. Today we are once again back in Warframe for another build, and this time we're having a look at Inaros Prime. He has pretty much become my poster frame, and so he deserves a video this new year. And I have tested a new build that is, I think, worth talking about, so I want to present this build to you as the Exploding Kitties build. Also, since my viewer retention rate is like 4 minutes, I'll try and condensate everything I can in the next 4 minutes, so stick around and you'll see the whole build, and then you can use the timestamps down below if you're interested in other parts of the video. Anyways, that's enough introductions for now, so let's jump into the build. Alright, first of all, let's start from Inaros' abilities. His passive allows him to avoid little damage by not dying and instead becoming this like walking sand dude, and by attacking enemies you drain their life force that will charge a meter on your screen, and if you completely fill the meter you are able to revive once again and go back into action. Moving on, I replace his first ability called Desiccation, which is a mass blind ability, with Thermal Thunder. This ability summons an AoE on the ground that can either be heat or cold damage based, and that will last for a certain duration and deal a certain amount of damage of that element. You cast the cold version by tapping the ability and the heat version by holding it. And additionally, thanks to the thermal transfer augment, we also gain extra elemental damage, both heat and cold, and if we gain both of them they will combine into blast, giving us a massive 280 plus extra damage that lasts for 30 seconds, but while we are inside the elemental AoE created by the ability, the duration is paused, so it does not tick down, and that means this ability can last about 40-ish seconds, which is pretty good. Moving on, we have Sandstorm, where Inaros becomes invulnerable to any damage, will heal based on how many enemies are affected by the ability. The ability also deals slash damage, and thanks to the elemental Sandstorm augment, is able to apply the elemental statuses on our melee onto enemies with a certain status chance that increases with your power strength. The augment also increases the range of the ability, giving us a massive radius over 18 meters. Moving on, we have Scarab Shell. This ability does not cost any energy, it will instead drain your HP, and to fully charge the ability you need to sacrifice 2500 of your HP. By doing this you gain 661.5 armor with this build, and also status protection that will consume 5% of your Scarab Shell to protect you from one status instance. And finally we have Scarab Swarm. This ability allows you to summon scarabs that will attack enemies and apply corrosive onto them. Enemies killed while inside the swarm will also summon these 10 kavats that will allow you to spread this ability even more, and they also deal some okay damage, which is pretty good, I guess. These kavats can also help you revive faster if you happen to die, because they will also give you some more meter charge while you are trying to revive yourself. Okay, those were the abilities. Let's now move on to Archon Shards. I'm using 2 Forge Azure Archon Shards with armor, 2 Emerald Archon Shards with +2 stacks to corrosive, so I can armor ship enemies with Scarab Swarm. And finally I am using a Forge Azure Shard with energy maximum to increase my energy pool, because otherwise Inaros has a very small amount of energy and it's hard to cast all these abilities that cost actually quite a lot, especially Thermal Thunder if we have to cast it twice. And these are the mods I'm going to use for today's build. I have Steel Charge as my aura to increase my melee damage by 60%, Prime Sure-Footed to resist knockdowns, but Year 3 already does that, but this way I won't consume the Scarab Shell too fast. All the Umbra mods to increase my HP, armor and ability strength by a lot, Adaptation to build resistance to damage types, Hunter Adrenaline to convert 45% of the damage on our HP to energy, and if we happen to have Overguard this also still works, Overextended to increase our ability range at the cost of power strength, and then the 2 augments I already talked about, which are Thermal Thunder and Elemental Sandstorm. Thermal Thunder allows us to gain a massive amount of blast damage, and Elemental Sandstorm allows us to deal more damage to more enemies, which is pretty good. Moving to the Arcanes, I'm using Arcane Bellicose, which is a new Arcane, and it's perfect for Inaros because it grants us 72% more ability strength. And then I'm using Arcane Rays to restore my HP when I take damage. Okay, that's pretty much the build. Let's now move on to the weapons I suggest using. And those are the turret with the Incarnon evolutions I have right now, but you can of course choose the one you like more. This is the build I have on the turret, and it's also very useful because it can spread corrosive to many enemies, and that allows us to armor shape them thanks to our Emerald Shards. Moving on, I am using the Furies with these Incarnon evolutions. I already made a video talking about this weapon, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on the build, but this is a bit different than the one on the video because I'm using Carnage Stinger and Secondary Fortifier. Carnage Stinger is nice to have because it does reduce enemy accuracy, so enemies will hit us less, which is pretty good. And finally, the melee I am using is the Inodem with this Incarnon evolutions. It's mostly focused on finisher damage because that's what we are going to pretty much spam all the time, and this is the build I have on the weapon. I'm using all the new galvanized mods, and we're also using Carnage Mandible to increase the set bonus, which is very important. So yeah, that's pretty pretty much the weapons. I'm using Madurai as my focus tree for the usual 50% casting speed and 40% additional ability strength. And the companion I choose is my Panzer Rupafila because this cat is just so insanely strong. I have a different build this time because of course Inaros has a lot of HP, and so we're going to take advantage of that. And this is the build for its claws. It pretty much focuses mostly on having shocking claws to apply a lot of electricity. That way our Furies can take advantage of this Incarnon evolution right here. Alright, that's pretty much the whole build, so let's now see it in action. We have here our 20 corrupted heavy gunners. They are very lively this time because we don't really care about them being still this case. We also need them to pretty much charge our energy. So the thing we're going to do is use our 4, the way they are affected by corrosive, use our 1, both versions, so we gain a lot of blast damage. Then we can start by grouping them and do 1 finisher and a second one, and then a charge attack, and all enemies are now dead. That's very, very fast, clear, but you can of course be faster. If you check in now that we have all the buffs active, we also take advantage of our Madurai buffs, and let's try again. And yeah, that's all the enemies. Thermal transfer has infinite duration as long as we are standing inside the circle. So that's pretty much going to be what we're going to do for the whole mission. Enemies will attack us, grant us energy thanks to 100 adrenaline, and we have to spam our 4 and our 1 to debuff them as much as we can, and then finish with a Sandstorm that will group them up. Then we end Sandstorm by casting our 2 again, and we finish with a finisher, of course, and that deals millions of damage that will also be boosted by the fact that enemies have multiple statuses on them, and also they are armor shaped. They'll also be affected by viral thanks to our cat here. The Senkavats also get affected by the thermal transfer augment, so they also deal blast damage to enemies, and yeah, they can also apply blast, and they actually deal quite a lot of damage. So I'll just let the cats do the thing. So they're gonna spread corrosive because that's what they do. Many amounts of electricity procs, all of them are pretty much already armor shaped, so yeah, this is just passive damage that happens while you're doing other stuff, like grouping enemies up, doing finishers and or whatever you want. So yeah, it works quite well. You just have to spam your abilities a lot to both stay alive and to recast your buffs. But other than that, it's easy to do, easy to achieve, and you are pretty much gonna be immortal as long as you don't go over level 400 or 500. But for your general gameplay, this is all you need to pretty much do whatever you want. Also, of course, our turret is still turret, so you can use that to, well, do this if you needed to. But yeah, you have options, you know, you can summon Kavats and swap to your turret. Just do whatever you want. You have access to Furious as well, which is another insane secondary weapon. So yeah, very, very solid setup. And you also have access to Madurai if you happen to, I guess, need Madurai on your operator or on your Warframe to boost your damage. And that's pretty much Inaros Prime. This build is very fun to play with. I suggest you try it out and see what you can do with it. You can of course change any of the mods you don't like. For example, all the Umbra mods are not exactly needed. They just fit Inaros very well, so you can change them as much as you want. So yeah, that's Inaros Prime. I will now leave you guys to the showcase where I test this build in a 5-minute survival in the new 1999 map, so you can see how it performs in a more realistic scenario. If you enjoyed this build, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Have a great rest of the day, and bye-bye.